All right, I thought I would show you what our tent and sleeping situation looks like. I'm gonna do another couple videos on some of the specific things like the sleeping bag we use, but I thought this would be maybe a good overview. So first, the tent, it's an REI 6-man. I think they have the base camp and the Kingdom. This is the base camp. I bought on eBay used for 180 bucks. And the person I bought it from had bought it from the REI garage sale. And you can tell that because of the X's. It was in great shape, didn't really need anything, just had a slightly bent pole that I was able to straighten. Pretty good tent. I think the poles are a little flimsy. You can also read that from other customers, but they've never failed. I don't like them, but they've never failed me. One thing I would suggest, modification, is take some bungee. This is probably 3/32 or 4 or 5 mil. I would do something a little heavier duty. I want to change this out for something better and attach it to your guy lines or outriggers or whatever for your vestibules. Reason why, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, if you camp enough, you will come across campsites where once you have everything set up and you've picked your spot, this goes right into a rock or wood or something else that you can't go into. And so by tying, what's this one called? A taut line hitch, an adjustable slider knot, it allows you to relocate with some flexibility where that goes. The other thing is, by doing it on an angle like this, instead of these being down like this, they're up in the air. And so you get more ventilation. You can also put the stakes a little bit out so that it still zips together and pulls them in, but then when you open them, it opens up for you, which is kind of nice. The second thing I would say, you may have seen this in another video, get yourself steel right angle, or maybe not right angle, but steel pegs like this if you're gonna do a lot of car camping. You don't need aluminum for a car camping setup. That's only for if you're gonna have to carry them a long distance. And the shepherd hooks I don't like because it's basically impossible to hit them with a hammer so that you go straight along the shaft and get all the power to go into the ground. And so you end up bending them. I bent a bunch of them last year. These take a beating and they go into almost anything. So this would be my recommendation. Anyway, so we have an adult side and a kid side. We have these pads on the outside. It's really nice to be able to step out of your shoes onto the pad or vice versa. It's very clunky over many nights to always be stepping out of shoes into the tent. So we really like having those. We also put a box with all the stuff we need in the morning to make coffee. Basically, first thing I do in the morning is I'm laying here, I unzip, I start the hot water boiling, and then we drink a cup of coffee basically in bed. The kids side looks the same. The vestibule is a little smaller and they only get one pad, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, to the inside, let me just get in and then I'll show you around. So this is a 6-man, but we only have 5 in our family. So the kids side looks like this. We have 8 of these interlocking foam mats. There's a couple reasons for that. We actually own sleeping pads for everybody. So it's not that we don't have it or don't want to pay for it. It's that 2 of my kids and sometimes 3 of my kids cannot stay on a sleeping pad all night. They end up wiggling and rolling off. And you may know that a sleeping pad isn't just for comfort, it's also for warmth. And so last year we were in the Grand Tetons 5 nights. We saw 22 degrees at night. We were in Smoky Mountains this winter. We saw 18 degrees at night. And so you want the padding, not just for comfort, which kids really don't need. They'll sleep on anything just about, but for warmth. The second reason is it kind of makes this whole side of the tent much nicer to stand on and walk on, where the kids are standing and changing their clothes. They're not going right through the tent floor into rocks that hurt their feet or pierce the tent, those sorts of things. So it kind of makes the space a little homier, which is appreciated. We normally then throw this sort of army surplus wool blanket over the top. That makes it homier still, so that we play card games and things like that in this area. And it just makes it feel more like carpet and home versus everything being kind of a slick material like this. It's also always with us so that if one of the kids is cold, we can pick it up and put it on them, so on and so forth. 3 sleeping bags. We did not buy kids sleeping bags, mainly because they're gonna outgrow them. and we just let the kids use our adult size sleeping bags. We have 6 sleeping bags, I think. Some of them we've had as long as 15 years. And as the kids get older and longer, they'll still fit. The only downside is they're a little bit heavy, you know, for what they do for the kids. But at the same time, there are not that many options for kids sleeping bags that are on the high end. Most of them are pretty cheap because the companies know that parents don't want to spend an arm and a leg on something that the kids are going to outgrow. And then 2 little inflatable pillows. My son has a little pillow somewhere. I have this little Wise Owl pillow, which I've practiced sleeping on at the house, and my wife basically cut down an ordinary pillow and made it into a mini. We sleep on a REI Kingdom insulated airbed queen I got at a REI garage sale. We use a little air pump running off the car to fill it up, and then I'll do a more in-depth review on this in a different video. But we're sleeping in this Kelty 20 Fahrenheit double wide 2-person sleeping bag. I really like it. There's 1 or 2 things I don't like that I'm going to try and improve, and I'll tell you more about that in another video. Let's see, last couple things. In the tent, we have a little Bluetooth speaker, and from my phone, we play white noise. It's basically like ocean waves. We play that throughout the night. It helps the kids go to sleep without hearing other campers who are playing music or talking or cussing. It's nice in the morning when my wife and I wake up and we're having coffee and hanging out. We don't wake the kids. And the kids basically all listened to white noise when they were babies in the nursery growing up. So they're kind of used to it. It also, you know, eliminates some of those like, what was that noise? And what was that? And ooh, that scares me. So on the one hand, it's a habit I'd like to break, because it's just one more thing to bring and keep charged. That's why we have the power bank here. On the other hand, it's a nice filter so that as a parent, you're not going from campsite to campsite asking other people to be quiet because your kids can't sleep. You know, it's just, you filter the world out a little bit. We also have a lantern. This is a brand new purchase that we're pretty happy with. I'll talk about this in another video when I do a video of like all the tech stuff that we brought. But this is a little solar panel, collapsible, inflatable thing. Been pretty happy with that so far. And then we have a Govee temperature sensor that lets me monitor the temperature and humidity in the tent. I have another one in the cooler, and I'll cover that in another video as well. Yeah, so that covers the mattresses, the sleeping bags, the setup, the tent. Yeah, so I think that covers it for this video. I hope that's kind of helpful. Maybe one last tip, get yourself some of these little cable ties and put them through some of your loops. These loops are impossible to do with one hand because you kind of have to use one hand to spread them and another one to do it. So like when you're trying to clip and unclip these carabiners and it's cold or it's raining or you're trying to rush, having these little things strategically placed around is really handy. Also, you can run like a t-shirt or socks through there to let stuff dry. Yeah, I think that covers it. Hope that helps somebody for the planning of their trip. Take care.